Neil Orfield here, founder of the Flanniverse. If you don't know me, all you really need to know is that I am obsessed with fantasy sports. I've been playing for decades and have won a lot of money at it, especially in DFS, where I've won the NFL Millie Maker on DraftKings. And if you remove the Millie Maker, I'd still be up hundreds of thousands of dollars with a dozen wins of $90,000 or more. In the past, I've primarily been a hand builder and an optimizer user, and I still think you can win that way. But in 2025, I think that's playing on hard mode. So this year, I've upped my game. I've partnered with Run the Sims, and throughout this NFL season, I'll be demonstrating how I'm using Run the Sims to try to win a lot of money again in 2025. I hope you'll join me and that we'll win a lot of money together. If you're interested in checking out Run the Sims, I've got some great news. If you use promo code Neil, you can get 50% off your first payment on any NFL product at Run the Sims. By the way, if you could, please do like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season, and I could really use your support. Without further delay, let's get into how I'm setting up for the Week 12 NFL main slate on DraftKings. I typically do multiple runs of The Sims, so I will be making some adjustments to the inputs here. It's all very customizable at Run the Sims. You can change things at both the team level and the player level, and I'll be doing that on future runs of The Sims. But for the first run of Sims, I actually don't like to change anything in the inputs. I want to see what The Sims are going to give me as the base. And honestly, I think that's a way that you can use Run the Sims is just run them as they are. Take the lineups that you get. The top lineups that you get are going to be plus EV lineups. So you could just use the lineups that they give you. Because I spend all week looking at the slates, I like to make some adjustments, get to the types of lineups that I want to play. But for the first one of the Sims, I don't make any adjustments. I just go into, other than going into settings and setting up for the specific types of contests that I play. That is one thing that you absolutely should do is make sure that you're set up for for example, the size of the contest field that you play. I play the largest field contest, so I'm going to slide this all the way to the right. But if you only play contests with 10,000 entries in them, you should click this option, whatever is closest to the field size that you play. But because I play the largest field with hundreds of thousands of lineups in them, I'm going to choose the 15,000 lineup option. I'm going to slide the number of lineups to 10,000. Might as well get the best bang for your buck. And the number of Sims, I'm going to move to 10,000 as well. Payout structure, again, for the large field contests that I played, they're all very top heavy payout structures. So that's what I'm going to choose. You can see here, if there's 5,000 approximately, you're going to want to choose standard. It's all based on the types of contests that you play here in the settings. I don't make any changes to these fields under lineups here because I want to let the Sims tell me what looks good. Run the Sims does play-by-play Sims followed by contest level Sims. So generally, I don't need to tell it things like I want to stack my quarterback because the play-by-play Sims are going to have those correlations built in, and lineups are that are better correlated are typically going to pop to the top anyway. And if a lineup that has an unstacked quarterback, who's sometimes you'll get like a $4,000 quarterback. If those lineups pop to the top, I don't want to tell the Sims that I don't want them because generally the Sims are going to do a better job of filtering out bad lineups, finding the best lineups than I am going to if I'm going to put on too many constraints. So I don't do anything like changing, requiring stacks or changing the salary range, ownership range, anything like that, because again, the Sims should reflect the best lineups. So you don't really need to customize it in that way. I do use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. This is a tool provided by Shady Advice. It's an add-on feature at Run the Sims that you can choose. What it does is it gives you the best portfolio of lineups. So if you choose, for example, I want to have a portfolio of 150 lineups, the max in most contests. Rather than just giving you the top 150 lineups in order of EV, that's what you will get if you don't use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. You'll get all of your lineups just in order of EV. But with the Shady Portfolio Optimizer, if I choose 150 lineups, for example, it's going to give me 150 lineups at the top that all do grade out really well. It's going to be 150 of the best EV lineups, but they're going to be lineups that don't eat into each other, and it's going to give you the best long-term results, minimize your risk of ruin. So I like to use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. If you don't use it, you can just go through and pick your favorite lineups. But I'm going to set this to 150, and then I'm going to just click this Sim Runner Pro button to get the Sims running. This will take a few minutes. I'm going to cut that part out of the video. All right, the first run of Sims is done. I'm just going to read off the top 5 lineups here because the first 3 all have the same quarterbacks, and then we get a couple that are unique, and then I'll get into reading off some of my player exposures in this first run of The Sims. Top lineup is a Caleb Williams double stack with Romo Dunze and Luther Burden. Doesn't have any Steelers bringbacks. Has Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Adonai Mitchell, Trey McBride, Devontae Smith, and the Seahawks defense. Second lineup, also Caleb Williams, this time triple stacked with Luther Burden, Romo Dunze, and Colston Loveland. Again, doesn't have any Steelers bringbacks. This one has Emmanuel Wilson, Jameer Gibbs, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Cleveland Browns defense. You should note Emmanuel Wilson currently is projected to be the starting running back with Josh Jacobs out. Remains to be seen how that is going to go down. Obviously, we'll know tomorrow. I believe it is in the early slate of games, the Packers Vikings game. We should know whether Josh Jacobs is going to play. Obviously, that would change things pretty drastically if Josh Jacobs does play. But for now, we have Emmanuel Wilson in there as the starting running back on the Packers. Third lineup, also Caleb Williams, this time triple stacked with DJ Moore, Luther Burden, and Romo Dunze. Again, no Steelers bringbacks. Does have Emmanuel Wilson, Jameer Gibbs, Dallas Goedert, Rashee Rice, and the Seahawks defense. Fourth lineup, Jalen Hurts triple stacked with Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert. Has a Devontae Williams bring back along with Chase Brown, Wan'Dale Robinson, Brock Bowers, and the Browns defense. And then fifth lineup is Drake May, double stacked with Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry. Doesn't have any bringbacks, has Bijan Robinson, Emmanuel Wilson, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and the Seahawks defense. So as you see here, I didn't tell it to stack up my lineups, but all of my top lineups are stacked, usually double stacks, sometimes triple stacks. So you really don't need to force it into the Sims. You can tell it that I always want my quarterback stacked, but I prefer just to let the Sims do their thing because, again, they're going to correlate how they should without you telling it to do so. Looking at my player exposures, quarterbacks that I'm getting into double digits, I have 21% Drake May, 21% Caleb Williams. That's it as far as double digit quarterbacks. Running backs in double digits have 49% Emmanuel Wilson, 33% Chase Brown, 15% Jameer Gibbs, 20% Bijan Robinson, 21% Travis Etienne, 20% Javonte Williams, 15% DeAndre Swift, 10% Breece Hall. Wide receivers getting to 23% Amon-Ra St. Brown, 25% Jackson Smith and Jigba, 22% Rashee Rice, 32% Stephon Diggs, 31% Devontae Smith, 17% Zay Flowers, 12% Wan'Dale Robinson, 14% AJ Brown, 14% DK Metcalf, 22% Romo Dunze, 21% Adonai Mitchell, 13% Luther Burden. Tight ends, I'm getting to 19% Trey McBride, 20% Brock Bowers, 11% Dallas Goedert, 15% Hunter Henry. And finally, defense is much more condensed than usual, getting to 31% of the Browns defense, 26% Seattle Seahawks. Now, this is a slate where there are just a few angles that I want to play. One of them being Luther Burden, who I'm already getting to in double digits. Glad to see that I'm getting to a fair amount of Burden. So I don't know that I need to change that. I could consider boosting him a bit, but that's just one of the angles I want to play. My biggest plan for this slate is frankly just to be overweight on the Patriots by and large, just across the board, being overweight on the Patriots. Love the matchup with the Bengals. And I think that the way the Patriots are built as a team, where it's not always obvious who's going to be scoring the fantasy points, tends to lead to them being under-owned. And this is a spot where I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points scored. I think the Patriots are just going to be able to score, 4 or 5 touchdowns in the game. So I think players will have good games. It's just a little bit hard to guess who it will be. So the way I'm planning on playing is just being overweight kind of across the board, both in the passing game and the running game. And some of those angles are probably going to end up getting some ownership. But as it's being projected right now, we don't have a crazy high amount of ownership going to Drake May or Trevion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson. I think Stephon Diggs getting a little bit of ownership. We'll have to take a look at that when I go into the inputs. But I don't think we're getting to a ton of ownership on Kayshon Boutte or Mac Hollins or Pop Douglas, and then Hunter Henry, a player that I really like at tight end. So I do plan to make sure that I'm overweight on the Patriots by and large. And I think the most likely scenario is that we're going to have multiple Patriots position players along with Drake May just have really strong games, or if not Drake May, then one or two of the running backs are going to have great games. So that's kind of how I plan to play. I do think that it's possible for it to fail, and there are a couple different ways that could happen. Could be just the offense doesn't score a ton of points. The defense might score touchdowns. The offense, no guarantee that they have an awesome game, even in this great matchup. But then there's also the possibility that it's just really spread around, and Mac Hollins scores a touchdown, but only has 2 receptions. And, maybe Trevion Henderson scores a touchdown, but he's 6,700, doesn't quite get there, pay off his salary. So there are ways that it could fail, but that's not how I'm going to play this slate. I'm going to play it as though the Patriots are going to pop off, score a lot of touchdowns, and maybe not all of them are going to get there, but I'm going to take an overweight approach to all of the Patriots across my portfolio of lineups and just hope that I get the right Patriots in the right lineups. So that's kind of the biggest angle that I plan to play as I adjust my inputs. Outside of getting to the Patriots across the board, I do want to have some game stacks of the Giants Lions game. That one I think could put up a lot of fantasy points, especially if Jameis Winston is on and can push back a little bit on the Lions offense. And finally, I really like Kenneth Walker on this site. So I'm going to boost up the Patriots. I'm going to boost up the Lions Giants game. And then Kenneth Walker, a lot of positive coach speak this week about how he has earned a bigger role. He's been looking really good. And this is a spot where, the coaches could easily live up to what they're saying about wanting to get Kenneth Walker more involved in this matchup with Tennessee, because they should just be able to run a lot, score a lot of points on Tennessee. So I really like Kenneth Walker here. So those are the biggest things I'm going to look at as I'm making adjustments. First, though, I'm just going to go through and look position by position to see if I'm already getting to where I'd like to be with those three angles. So quarterback, Drake May, I'm already getting to 21%. That looks great. I might get to even more as I make adjustments to the Patriots, but I'm perfectly happy just getting to 21%. I really do like Caleb Williams on this slate also. I'm also already getting 21% there. Not the angle that I'm really forcing in, but since I'm already getting there, like I'll just note that I do really like the Caleb Williams angle. I think Lamar Jackson looks strong at 6,800. So pretty happy with what I'm getting in general. Jared Goff at 6,000. I'm only getting to 2%. I would like to get to more of Jared Goff. So there's one. And then Jameis Winston, currently just getting to 0.7% at 4,600. I think there's a lot of upside in Jameis Winston. So I do plan to boost that up a little bit. At running back, again, I like both of the Patriots running backs. I like both the Detroit running backs as well. And then, of course, Kenneth Walker. So starting with Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm getting to 15%. I might end up getting more of that as I game stack it more, but happy with 15% seems totally fine with me. David Montgomery already getting to 5%. I'd be cool with getting more of David Montgomery. Kenneth Walker only getting to 3% right now. I'd like to push that up pretty significantly. He is projected for 9% ownership, so not like he's super contrarian, but I think Kenneth Walker a really strong play. So I'll probably get to more of both Detroit running backs and Kenneth Walker. And then as far as the Patriots running backs go, I am getting to 0.7% Trevion Henderson. I want a lot more than that of Trevion Henderson. I think that there's a world in which he gets a lot of carries tomorrow, but it's also unclear to me. So I'm going to be overweight on Trevion Henderson if he only gets 4% ownership. Just love the matchup with the Bengals, but I also plan to be pretty significantly overweight on Ramondre Stevenson at 5,200, projected for 2% ownership, because nobody really knows how that backfield is going to split out. Is it going to be Ramondre getting the bulk of the carries? Is he gonna come back and get the start right away and take over the backfield, or will Trevion Henderson continue to lead the backfield since he's looked so good as a starter? It's really unclear what's going to happen there, but I like both running backs as a result. Both are going a little bit under-owned, and I think the most likely scenario is the running backs on the Patriots put up 35 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points against this Bengals defense. That might not happen again. Not a sure thing, but I think it's pretty likely that the Patriots running backs do put up a lot of fantasy points here. So I plan to make big adjustments to the Patriots to get to more of the running backs. I actually, before I stop looking at the running backs, I noticed Bashal Tutin there at 4,600. That's also an angle that I really like. I think Tutin and Travis Etienne are probably both going to play, but we kind of saw Bashal Tutin take over the backfield for the Jaguars a little bit, or get more of a split of the backfield in a nice matchup with the Cardinals at just 4,600. I think I'm actually going to boost up Bashal Tutin as well at running back. At wide receiver, getting to 23% Amon-Ra St. Brown. That seems fine with me. Stephon Diggs getting to 32%. Again, love the Patriots. That looks great. Wan'Dale Robinson getting to 12%. Strong. Looks good to me. Only 3% Jameson Williams. I might want to boost that up a bit. Again, I think I'll probably just boost up the entire Lions offense. So I'll get to more of JMO naturally, but have loved how involved he has been with Dan Campbell calling the plays. Things are looking up for Jameson Williams. So even at 15% ownership, I think I would like to be above 3%. I might not get to the field at 15%, but I'd like to be above 3% certainly. Luther Burden getting to 13%. Love that. Keyshawn Boutte, kind of expensive at 5,000, but projected for just 1% ownership. I wouldn't mind getting to even more than 4% there. Matt Collins, same. I'm getting to 2% at 2% projected ownership. I'd like to be above the field on Matt Collins. Darius Slayton at 2% ownership. We have not seen Darius Slayton with Jameis Winston yet. That could be a really fun connection there. So I do want to boost up Darius Slayton in his first game with Jameis Winston. Isaiah Hodgins, 3,300, I think playable. Not sure exactly how the wide receiver room for the Giants is going to break down, but at 0.1% ownership, I'll think about getting to more Hodgins as well. But then finally, Pop Douglas, 3,800 projected for 1% ownership. Currently, I'm not getting any. Pop Douglas, not a full-time player, like doesn't run that many routes, but we've still seen him pop off for some huge games. And this is as good a spot as any. So I'm actually going to boost up Pop Douglas and try to get to some there as well for the Patriots. Finally, at tight end, I think Hunter Henry is just a great play. One of my favorite plays on the slate. 3,900 projected for 7% ownership. This Cincinnati defense has just given up a ton of fantasy points to tight ends, and I think Hunter Henry is talented enough to take advantage of this matchup. So I like Hunter Henry quite a bit at 3,900. I'll be boosting him up as well. All right, so going through my inputs, first of all, I'm going to go into Seattle and give a little boost to Kenneth Walker, currently projected for 33% of the rushing market share, 42% of the rushing touchdown market share. I'm going to give him a little bit of a boost there. So I'm going to click Smart Adjust. That is going to proportionally change. So if I give him more of the rushing market share, it'll also give him more of the rushing touchdown market share. And I'm going to move. I think I'm just going to move off of George Holani completely, just bring him down to 0 and just give his 5% of the rushing market share directly to Kenneth Walker. I should note, I actually am tempted to actually get to more of the passing game for the Seahawks as well. I think Sam Darnold at 4% ownership against this Tennessee defense. Probably they're not going to throw a ton because they're not going to need to, but it is a really nice spot. And Sam Darnold, I think, is kind of in a spot where he might get a pretty big bounce back spot, might want to prove himself. So maybe does continue to throw after his rough outing last week. So I don't hate the idea of playing through the Seahawks passing game as well. With that in mind, I think I'm not going to change anything on Darnold, but I might just give the Seahawks a boost here from 26.8 points. I'm going to move them to 28 points and pace up from 59.5 to 61. So I might get to more of the passing game as well, but I think all of this is going to help Kenneth Walker, giving him more work, giving his team more points. All of that should help Kenneth Walker as well. On the Patriots, again, this is the biggest angle that I'm playing. I want both the passing game and the rushing game for the Patriots. Easiest way to do that is obviously give the team more points and more plays run. So I'm going to move the Patriots from 28.5 points all the way up to 31. Pretty big boost there, 2.5 points, and then pace from 61.6 to 63. So just a couple more plays. But I'd like to get to, again, both Ramondre Stevenson and Trevion Henderson. I could move the rush rate up more to get to more of both of them. I do have, again, some slight concern that Terrell Jennings is going to continue to be involved here, but I think most likely it's just going to be Stevenson and Henderson here. So I can probably just give them most of the rushing work. I could move more rushing work from Drake May to Ramondre Stevenson. I think I might do that. Again, I wasn't really getting to much of either Stevenson or Henderson. So I'm tempted to even move up the pace more. I think what I'm going to do is move some of the rushing market share from Drake May, move him down to 18%, and then give 2% of that to Trevion Henderson, 2% of that to Ramondre Stevenson, and we'll see if that's enough to get to both of them. I think because I moved up the points scored and the pace, I'll still get to a lot of Drake May. As far as the receivers, again, I really like all of Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, and Pop Douglas. And I'm not sure I'm going to get enough of them as is just by moving up the team points. I think I'm going to get rid of the Kyle Williams usage here. So he's at 6% receiving market share. I think I'm just going to spread that out to Pop Douglas, Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte, and Stephon Diggs. And I think that will help a bit. And I'm would like to get to more of Hunter Henry as well. So maybe I'll just get rid of Kyle Williams and Jack Westover and move all of their usage to the players that I'd like to get on the Patriots. So I'm going to move, again, Kyle Williams to 0, Jack Westover to 0. And then I can kind of spread out the usage here. I'm already getting to a ton of Diggs, actually, so I'm just going to leave Diggs as is. I'm going to move Boutte up to 14% receiving market share, Hollins up to 12%, and then Pop Douglas up to 9%, and Hunter Henry up to 17%. And then I'll click normalize to bring all of this to 100%. Giants Lions, again, I don't really have like specific angles I want to play in this game other than play it as though this game could score a lot of points. So I'm just going to give more points and more pace to both teams and see if I get some team stacks in there, get a little bit more across the board. So I'm just going to move the Giants from 19.8 to 21, pace from 59 to 61. And then same thing for the Lions. They're already at 30.3 points scored. I'm going to move them to 32 points scored and the pace from 60.7 to 62. And we'll see if that's enough to get more of Goff and Jameis and some of the stacks here. My guess is that I'll get to some more game stacks here, but I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not going to make any changes to these specific players. Finally, the Jaguars. I want to get to more of Bashal Tutin. He's been just getting 24% of the rushing market share here to 54% of Travis Etienne. I think things are moving in Tutin's favor a bit. So I am going to split that rushing market share. Currently, let's see, 24 and 54. So I'm going to move them both to 30, 37 to just give them a totally even split here. And I think that'll be enough for me to get to some Tutin at his price tag 4,600. But I'm just going to give them an even split for now. I was getting to a ton of ETN, and I'm torn about whether I really want to get rid of the ETN I was getting, because again, he is 5,900 explosive running back in a great spot. I might still get to a fair amount of ETN, but I did just move down his rushing market share kind of significantly. So that is one concern that I have, is that I may have moved up Tutin at the expense of ETN. I'm tempted to move up the rush rate, but I don't mind the Jaguars passing game either. I'm just going to see what I get after making those changes to Tutin and ETN, see if I still get, double digits of ETN and more Tutin as well. All right, so with those changes, I'm going to click the SimRunner Pro button to get the Sims running again. In my second run of the Sims, top lineup is Jared Goff, single stacked with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Does not have any Giants bringbacks. Also has DeAndre Swift, Emmanuel Wilson, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Smith, Hunter Henry, Chase Brown, and the Browns defense. Second lineup is Drake May, triple stacked with Mac Hollins, Stephon Diggs, and Hunter Henry. Does not have any Bengals bringbacks. Has Emmanuel Wilson, Javonte Williams, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and the Seahawks defense. Third lineup again, Drake May, triple stacked with Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and Hunter Henry. Has a Chase Brown bringback along with Emmanuel Wilson, Christian Watson, Javonte Williams, and the Seahawks defense. All right, so time to find out if my changes went overboard. Did I go too crazy with my changes? Am I going to be way overexposed to certain players? We're going to start by looking at quarterbacks in double digits. I now have 35% Drake May, 16% Caleb Williams, 10% Sam Darnold. Honestly, love all of that being, way over the field on Drake May. Very happy with that. Over the field on Caleb Williams still, that's good to see. And then Sam Darnold, I gave a little boost to. Generally happy with those at quarterback. I still only have 3% Jared Goff. So my changes to the team level of Detroit and the Giants didn't get me to much more of Goff. Still just 0.7% Jameis Winston. So I would like to get to more of both the Detroit and Giants passing games, but generally happy with the three quarterbacks that I'm getting to in double digits right now. Running backs in double digits, I'm at 51% Emmanuel Wilson, 22% Jahmyr Gibbs, 41% Chase Brown, 11% Bijan Robinson, 16% Javonte Williams, 17% Kenneth Walker, 13% DeAndre Swift, 11% David Montgomery. So again, I was focused on getting to a bit more of the Detroit game stacks, Kenneth Walker, Bashal Tutin, and the Patriots. Here I'm getting to 22% of Jahmyr Gibbs. So that part looks good. 17% Kenneth Walker. Glad that I upped that quite a bit. 11% David Montgomery. All of those look good. Still just at 2% Trevion Henderson. So I think I need to move up the rush rate for the Patriots to get more of Henderson, and I might move more of the rushing work from Drake May to the Patriots running backs. So I would like to get more Henderson and then also Stevenson. Not getting to any. Again, I'd like more Stevenson. So my plan here with the Patriots would be to move some of the rushing work from Drake May to the running backs, and then also move up the rush rate for the Patriots, because I'm getting, again, 35% Drake May. If I cut back on that a little bit to get to more of the running backs, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not going to run the Sims again in this video, but I'm just telling you, in my next run, what I would do is just move more of the rushing work from Drake May to the running backs, and also move up the Patriots rush rate. And by doing that, I don't think I would get, if I do it incrementally, I wouldn't move away too much from my Drake May exposure, but I also would I'd like to be above the field on both of those Patriots running backs. Also, still just getting to 1% Bashal Tutin now and just 1% Travis Etienne. I kind of worried that was going to be the case, that my changes were going to cut out Etienne more than they boosted Tutin. So I would go back and probably increase the rush rate and the points scored for the Jaguars, because I think both the Jaguars running backs look great here. So that's a spot that I would make some changes going back to run the Sims again. At wide receiver, getting to 24% Amon-Ra St. Brown, 25% Jackson Smith and Jigba, 45% Stephon Diggs, 19% Rashee Rice, 15% Devontae Smith, 17% Wan'Dale Robinson, 19% Zay Flowers, 11% DK Metcalf, 13% AJ Brown, 15% Romo Dunze, 17% Adonai Mitchell, 11% Luther Burden. So again, 24% Amon-Ra St. Brown looks great. 45% Diggs. I mean, I like Diggs quite a bit. I don't know that I need 45%. I might spread out some of my some of the Diggs receiving market share to the other Patriots receivers because again, I like having a lot of Diggs, but I don't think I need 45%. I think there's a chance that he's going to be covered by that number one cornerback on the Bengals, who is actually pretty good. They've been good against wide receiver ones. Unclear who is going to be hurt by the wide receiver one coverage because it might depend on where they're running their routes, but it could be Diggs, so I might cut back a bit on my Diggs to get to more of the other Patriots. Still just 5% JMO, which makes sense because I didn't get too much Goff either, but wouldn't mind boosting that. Keyshawn Boutte up to 18%. Love that. I think Boutte looks great. Will be kind of a target of mine. So no complaints about getting well over the field on Boutte. 5% Mac Hollins, getting closer to where I would like to be. I am above the field now on Mac Hollins. And then finally, Pop Douglas. I'm just getting to 0.7%. I'd like to boost up Pop Douglas a little bit more. So maybe I'll move just 1% of the receiving market share to start from Stephon Diggs to Pop Douglas. Hopefully that'll help me to get to more of Douglas, a little bit less of Diggs, kind of balance things out a little bit with my Patriots wide receivers. Still didn't get to any Darius Slayton, so I might want to boost up the Giants on that whole game environment a little bit more. Not getting to any Isaiah Hodgins either, so that's a spot that I'd probably like to move up the passing game for the Giants a bit. Tight end, I'm now at 28% Hunter Henry. Honestly, I love that. I'm 4x the field at 28%. I'm totally comfortable being well over the field on Hunter Henry. Just seems like a great spot for him. So no issues with the 28% going to Hunter Henry. I'm also in double digits getting to 21% Trey McBride, 11% Brock Bowers, 15% Tyler Warren. That all looks great to me, along with 11% Isaiah Likely. Defense is still very condensed to 27% of the Seahawks against the Titans, and then 35% of the Browns defense against the Raiders. I'm almost tempted to move away from this somewhat. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me to be this condensed on my defenses. I probably won't make any changes, so I might just accept what I get of the defenses. But they're pretty chalky defenses at 8 and 13% protected ownership. I'm surprised that I'm getting so condensed a defense. Usually it's pretty spread out. I might make a change. I'm not sure that I'll actually adjust anything to get to just to spread out the defenses a bit. By the way, I'd like to remind you that if you are interested in winning a Flaniverse hat, it's easy to do so. All you have to do is use the Flaniverse avatar on sites where it's allowed, on like DraftKings and FanDuel. You can't use the avatar on Underdog, so not required there. Win $1,000 or more in DFS or a draft game. Give a shout out with the screenshot of the win with the Flaniverse avatar where applicable to myself. I'm at PlayerQDFS on Twitter or Mathology13 on Twitter. And then send me your mailing address. I'll send you a Flaniverse hat. Really easy to win. All right, so like I said, I'm not going to continue running the Sims here. I've already run them twice. Typically, I will continue running until I'm really happy with the lineups I've gotten to. I'm not quite there yet. It usually takes, 4 or 5 runs of the Sims before I'm really happy with my lineups. And that would be a long video, so I'm not going to do that over and over. I'm just going to stop here. But I kind of gave you suggestions of what I will probably be doing to get to the lineups I like on Sunday. Typically, I recommend not making your lineups until Sunday just because you have the most information at that point. Sometimes ownership projections will update, et cetera, et cetera. So I like to make my lineups on Sunday, just kind of giving you a demonstration of how I like to use Run the Sims and some of the changes that I plan to make this week to get to some of the lineups that I like. So again, if you have not already done so, please do like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Over 5,700 subscribers now, but I'd really like to get to 6,000 by the end of the NFL season and could use your support. If you haven't signed up for Run the Sims, again, you can get 50% off your first payment on any of their NFL products using promo code Neil. Highly recommend checking it out. And if you do win big this weekend and you think that you found this video helpful, please let me know. Even if you're not trying to win a Flaniverse hat, just love to hear from people that think they benefited from some of my analysis. Really appreciate all of you. Good luck this weekend. Let's get it. I'll be back for Sunday Night Football to break down the slate for DraftKings Showdown about 80 minutes prior to Sunday Night Football. See you then.